So this right here is not your average Apple laptop. In fact, calling it a laptop isn't entirely accurate because this is the eMate 300, a touchscreen PDA and laptop hybrid of sorts that was released back in 1997 and discontinued less than a year later, along with the entire Newton line of PDAs that it was a part of. And it's something that I've been wanting to make a video on for years now, especially because I've never used one of these things before, so today we're going to change that. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. So I gotta give a huge thank you to Dan from the Flight Simulation Museum YouTube channel and his friend Ryan for sending this thing out to me. Now, you might recognize those names from a recent video I did on that Dynavox Windows XP tablet because they also sent that out to me as well. So I gotta give a thank you to them for making both of these videos possible. Now, the eMate and the entire Newton product line for that matter has always been fascinating to me because it gives us a glimpse into what I like to call the between jobs era of Apple. A period that a lot of people like to point at and paint this really grim picture of Apple having no prospects whatsoever. They were just releasing terribly named computers one after the other and creating this really confusing product line. And while that's not entirely untrue, they also made some pretty freaking cool stuff, and I think the Newton was one of those things, despite the fact that it also was a failure. Now, Apple was not the first company to ever release a PDA, but they are credited with coining the term. Apple's then CEO, John Sculley, first used it in a keynote at CES 1992, over a year before the release of the first Newton, the MessagePad 100, and the eMate here came along 4 years after that in 1997 for $799. And this thing really sticks out when compared to the rest of the product line because the eMate here was the only Newton device that shipped with a built-in physical keyboard that you could use in addition to the stylus on the touchscreen to input text without taking advantage of the totally perfect handwriting recognition, which, as I'm sure we all know, was heavily made fun of. Now, this keyboard is a little bit smaller than most, and they also got rid of the number pad over there, but hey, at least they have normal looking arrow keys. But here is a 3.5-inch floppy disk for a size comparison, and they also utilized the function row for implementing all of those functions that you would normally find at the bottom of a Newton, you know, in that little toolbar. They also added some additional things as well, like the power button over there, which is just a key. And they decided to house all of this in a beautiful translucent green plastic case, which I am definitely a huge fan of. One thing I found really interesting though is there were at one point multiple colors of the eMate. You had a red and a purple, as well as a prototype clear shell, but that's very typical for Apple prototypes. But those two other colors never saw a final release, but I find that really interesting because the iMac G3 is usually the computer that takes all the credit for utilizing translucent colored plastics and shipping in multiple colors, but as it turns out, Apple was experimenting with that all the way back in 1996 when they were developing this thing. But even with the eMate coming in just this one color, I find it to be a really nicely designed machine. There's just a lot of little things that really add up. For example, with the stylus here, you've got these two holes on each side that you can store the stylus in while you're taking a break from it to use the keyboard. And if you were left or right-handed, didn't matter because you could put it on either side. You can also move the screen all the way back and lay it flat, so you could hold the machine like this, and the screen could rotate, so you could have it, you know, facing you like this, and you could be writing with it with the stylus. When it folds up, you've got a handle right here for easy transportation, and you actually have a few expansion options as well. You've got a PCMCIA card slot right here, you've got your headphone jack, you've got infrared, and you have this little slider door on this side that slides to the left to reveal Newton Interconnect, and to the right to reveal Apple Local Talk. You also have your power port right here, which I actually did not have a power adapter for this thing, but I was able to track one down, and I am going to have this linked down below through YouTube's shopping affiliate program. There's also going to be a card that comes up on the screen, and if you purchase this power adapter through one of those links, you will be helping the channel because I will receive a commission when you do so. So yeah, if you have an eMate and don't have a power adapter, consider picking one of these up because this one has worked for me. Some other things worth mentioning on the bottom here, you've got this nice little card that you can pull out to write your name and address on it, so that, you know, people know that it's yours if they happen to find it, I don't know, lying on the street somewhere. Let me see if I can get this back in here now. And then interestingly enough, you also have this screw hole on the bottom, which is actually the standard size for a tripod. So I've got this tripod mounting plate here for my camera, and we can just go ahead and screw that into here. And yeah, you can put this thing on a tripod if you want to. I actually looked this up. Apparently this was supposed to be used for securing the eMate to like a table so that it couldn't easily be moved around, which would make sense for an educational setting. You also have a reset button right up here. So yeah, what we're gonna do is go ahead and power this thing on. We'll take a look at the software and see all the wonderful things that we can do with it. Alright, so we've got the eMate plugged into power. We're going to go ahead and press the power button to get this show on the road. And like I said, this will be my first time taking a look at the eMate and the Newton operating system in depth anyways. I mean, I did plug this thing in off camera to verify that the power adapter works, and I went through the touchscreen calibration. So yeah, it's doing its startup stuff here. We can actually turn on the backlight as well, or once it boots into the OS anyways, which we are going to do because that way you guys can actually see the screen a lot better. And yeah, system restarted because the battery was dead. The battery is long dead in this thing. So we'll go ahead and hit the X down there. And yeah, so this backlight key turns on the backlight, and yeah, that's a really useful feature because you guys can, well, see the screen at least a little bit better. So we're going to go through all the applications, but before we do that, I figured we'd take a look at this interface here and see kind of what we got. You can see we got some options down here. So this I gives us access to memory info and credits. So let's see what memory that we're working with here. And it looks like this is version 2.1 of the system software, and we have 900K of RAM installed. So that means this up here has to be the internal storage, and we have we've used 1,198K, and we have 529K free. And yeah, like I said, I've not gone through the software, so I don't know if there are any like third-party programs installed on here. We're gonna go through and figure that out. But we also have the credits right here, or well, I just opened up memory info again apparently. Let's try that again. Credits, there we go. So yeah, there's your credits. And next to the little I, we have this rotate function, which, like I mentioned, the screen is able to rotate depending on what orientation you have the eMate set up in. So if you wanted to lay the screen flat and have it maybe rotated to the left side, you could have it, you know, in a portrait orientation like that, although it is going to have us recalibrate the touchscreen every time we do that, which makes sense. So there we go, but I'm just going to change this back to the right here. And then over here, we've got a charging indicator, it looks like. It says the battery's charged, but it is certainly not. And we've got this folder icon. Extras, nothing is selected. Okay, and then what do we have here? Is this mail? Nothing is selected. Okay. I think those are functions that you utilize when you're in a program. So for example, let's go into, I guess we can just start at the top here. So in, out. This, I believe, is the file transfer program. So yeah, you see we do have those two options on here, but we also have receive. So yeah, you could choose how you would want to receive a file. So maybe, let's see, fax. And then you'd have to go through all of that. So we can't really do any of this because I don't have this set up like to receive or send files. But this is, or it looks like anyways, the program for doing that. Let's go into help here and just see if there's any documentation we can look at. So let's learn the basics. Oh, well, this is just stuff for like the entire operating system, like select and deselect, erase text. Not that. I want to go back to topics here. Use applications. Yeah, use PC cards. So this is not anything specific to this program. We can get into notes here. Oh, it looks like the backlight went off actually, so I guess that times out if you're not using the system for a while, so that's nice. Might be a setting that we can change. But we'll go into notes if I can tap on this. And here's where we get into the fun handwriting recognition stuff. We can also, looks like, get an on-screen keyboard right here as well, so that's nice. If you didn't want to use the keyboard that's down here, But from what I understand, the eMate runs the exact same software that a Newton PDA would, so having this on a Newton PDA makes a lot of sense. But in our case, we really don't need this at all, so we'll just close out of it. And yeah, you can totally type, so we can say, if I can actually spell the word hello correctly, hello world, you know, there you go. And then we can also try the handwriting recognition stuff. So let's go down to a new line, and let's try to just write out, Michael. Oh, it got it. It put a space in between the A and the E, but it did get it. That's pretty awesome. Let's see if it can do MJD. Oh my gosh, look at that. All right, let's do the Simpsons thing, since, you know, that seems like a requirement. Beat up Martin. I know I'm writing this at like an angle, it's just the way that I'm positioned. Beaks 37 AIZ. Now, just to, like, admit something here, my handwriting is not the greatest, and I have had other, like, handwriting recognition stuff give me trouble in the past. So, you know, it's not, that could be just me, but let's try it again. Okay, well, it got B. G+, alright, Google Plus is a little bit early for Google Plus, guys, I mean, come on. Oh, it got beat. Oh, I really screwed up on Martin there. Beat up Mactiz, okay. Well, hey, it got 2 out of 3 words, so I mean, that's definitely something. One of the other cool things you could do with the stylus is erase text by just scribbling over it. So if I want to get rid of the word Michael, I can do that. It does that nice poof effect. But yeah, so that's the handwriting recognition stuff. I mean, we're going to be doing more of that as we go throughout this video. We also have some options down here. So again, you got that I menu with help and preferences. You've got this, for I assume changing like the font and stuff. Let's see, let's go into text. Oh no, oh, you know what? This is changing the mode. That's what this is doing. So like right now we're inputting text. We can change this to shapes. And now if I were to draw like a triangle, a really bad triangle, you see it, you know, corrects my horrible line there and makes a triangle. Let's do a circle. That, okay, it's not a circle at all. Let's try that again. Okay, let's just get rid of that. Let's try a circle. That's not what I wanted to do. Let's try a circle. That's a very lopsided circle. And that's... now it's actually taking the lines I'm drawing to, like, get rid of stuff. And it's making shapes out of that. Let's just... Can we do backspace? Can we put the cursor, like, right here and just... No, get the keyboard out of here. Can we do, like, can we select this at all? No? I mean, it worked before. Now it's just drawing, like, lines and stuff. Like, I want to get rid of this. There we go. There we go. Alright. Yeah, you have to draw your squiggles in a particular way. Alright, let's try a circle. There we go. We have that little line there, but that's a perfect circle, so you know it did correct my horrible drawing there, which is nice. Let's try to get rid of that. There we go. And then we can also go into preferences here and change our handwriting style. So if you wrote, you know, really close together, you could drag this down. If I can actually select it here, come on, there we go. And then you see up here at the top right, we've got that folder and the little mail icon that we had down here on the main menu before. I think now if we select this, yeah, we can file this note in, you know, a particular folder if we want to. And then I assume that the mail is going to, yeah, allow us to print it, fax it, beam it, mail it, duplicate it, or delete it. We'll just delete this one. And it does that cool, pretty delayed in this case, but it does that nice, you know, throwing away effect. So, yeah, you can also make a new note from down here. We can do a checklist if we want to. So they got a couple formats, which is nice. I imagine that's going to be the primary application you would be using if you were using this in its intended environment. But it's nice to know we can do a bunch of other stuff too. So next up is calls, which we're also not really going to be able to do anything with because we don't have this thing hooked up to a modem, but you could actually place calls right from here. And, okay, it looks like it's pulling from contacts. They got Alice's Restaurant in here? Oh my gosh, we gotta give them a call. I heard you can get anything you want there. And then if we hit place call, it will, yeah, so that's just placing the call based on what contact you have selected. But if we go to new down here, well, that's going to add a new contact, which makes sense. I'm wondering if there's a way to get to just a dial pad. Maybe you can. Maybe you can only just place calls based on your contact list. Maybe if we just hit call. Okay, so now we're in a call with nobody because it didn't actually dial a number. Not that if it did, it would actually do anything because, again, no modem hooked up. But we can click on this and now get access to the dial pad, you know, for entering phone numbers while on the call. So, yeah, we'll get out of that and we'll hang up and we'll just say no answer. And it looks like it keeps a log of your calls and whatever you select for the reason you hang up, it'll show up here and keep the duration. So that's nice. We'll get out of that. And next up is the dock, which when I saw this earlier, I kept clicking on this thinking that like, oh, this is going to bring up like an on-screen dock or something, right? Like for some shortcuts. No, this is actually for docking it with your Macintosh. So you can choose how you want to connect. You've got a few options in there, and then you can choose what computer you want to connect to. And looks like that's the previous owner's system up there. Card is not going to do anything for us because this would be if we had an external storage card inserted. In this case, it's just going to say no card is inserted. But yeah, we got calculator as well, which this opens up. This is not like a full screen application, much like the calculator in Mac OS. So yeah, you know, which not that it needs to be. I mean, it's a calculator, but we can also just use the keyboard to enter and stuff, which I feel like for this type of application makes the most sense. So that's a nice result there. And yeah, we got formulas. And now this also opens up in a floating window here, and I think this is a pretty cool addition because it's just, you know, a bunch of formulas for like conversion. Like we can go to metric conversion here and say we want to convert, you know, Fahrenheit to Celsius. Now, we could actually write out, you know, using the handwriting recognition, like we could do, you know, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. But with this being the eMate, it makes the most sense just to, you know, type it out on the keyboard, but it's nice to know that you have that option. But yeah, we can change the measurement, you know, like what it's actually going to be converting. So we could go to length maybe, and let's convert feet to meters. I think, can we change? Yes, we can. So we can change this to maybe inches, to centimeters, and type in 12, 30.48. So yeah. We've also got just like a loan calculator, basically, if I can actually select the right one. Can we use the arrow keys here to like navigate through? It doesn't look like it. Yeah, enter doesn't, like, we don't have anything selected, basically. Can we do like number 2 maybe? No, like 3, nothing. So yeah, we have to use the stylus in this case. We also have a currency exchange. Now this will be interesting because I wonder what, oh, you have to enter in the exchange rate. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say, like, how is it gonna pull? I mean, this thing can connect to the internet, so, you know, it could theoretically pull the current exchange rate value. I don't know what the current exchange rate is between the US dollar and the Japanese yen. But you can enter that in here and then, you know, type in your, you know, dollar value and it would convert it to Japanese yen for you. Of course, much easier ways of doing that today. Why is this? Okay, there we go. Close out of that other window before it got rid of the keypad there. And then what else do we got? We have a date calculator, which will calculate how many dates you've been on in the past year. So we can select a date here. I assume this is the current date the system thinks it is. So we'll just go with that, July 8th, 1996. And then you can enter in a number of days. Let's do, I don't know, 800. And then it would give you 800 days since July 8th, 96, which would be September 16th, 98. So there you go. So yeah, some useful little functions in there for you. Time zones. What do we got here? Well, they're time zones. So it just pulls the current time, which it thinks we are in the San Francisco, you know, Pacific time zone, 12:42 p.m. on Monday, July 8th. And then it tells you the time in Tokyo, Japan. And we can just, can we tap on the map here to get to, yeah, we can. So let's do, I don't know, Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It pulls that time up there. Let's go to Australia, Adelaide. Huh. I know there's some YouTuber that lives there, I think. We got a clock here, just like Windows 1.0. I mean, you freaking can't believe the thing has a clock. At least it doesn't open up in full screen, though. So, yeah, shows the current time, which not super useful since you have a digital clock up there. But, you know, if you wanted it to be on the screen in the center like this, you know, it's cool. Can we change the design of this, I wonder? It doesn't look like it. That just gives us the option to change between 12 and 24-hour time. But you can set a daily alarm, minute timer, time and date. That's kind of disappointing. I thought we would have... Oh, wait a second. Are these buttons up here? Well, it's making noise. Oh, well, we can move it around. That's nice. That's probably why it's making that sound when we when we select it. So yeah, it doesn't look like we can really change any of the design of this, which kind of sucks. Although maybe there'll be another, like if we go into preferences, you know, maybe we'll have some options in there. We go into styles. Okay, so what is this? Okay, here's where we can change the font. So we could change that to, I don't know, Geneva, or okay, we'll go with that one. We can change the size. Let's go 36. And style, let's do italics. So that completely changes the font here. And then we have preferences. Well, we've got some security stuff. I wonder, okay, just setting a pin, yeah. We got locale, sound, recording. Okay, so is there a built-in micro? Yeah, line in. So you would have to, so if you wanted to plug in a microphone, you could record stuff. That's nice. Got alarm, sleep, handwriting recognition, and that's that same menu we saw in the notes program earlier. And then you've got stuff for your modem, auto docking, Apple Talk, and power preferences, so that's where you get access to all of that. Next up, we've got owner info, which should just show us the name of the owner, so yeah. We also have names, which I believe is like your contacts. And then we've got dates, which just looks to be a calendar. It's interesting the names for some of this stuff. Like instead of calling contacts, they call it names. They call calendar dates. But I guess that works. So, you know, we could write out maybe at 1 p.m. I want to make a video. And then classroom doc. I imagine this is something we're not going to be able to do anything with either. Because, yeah, we have to connect via serial. Or you can change this here to Apple Talk or infrared. And then connect right there. So yeah, another connection program. Then we have works, which is this like, it looks like we've got a document in here. Maybe this is a sample document, or maybe this was, I mean, this was written apparently at 10:19 on Monday, July 8th, which is again the date this is set to. Now is the time for all good men to come to the aid of their country. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy red dog. This is a test of the emergency broadcasting system. Those are 3 sentences. Now, can we turn the backlight back on? We can certainly do that, but how do we view like our files? Okay, I figured it out. You have to hit the overview button on the keyboard, and that brings up a list of all of your documents. So that is very useful. And then you can see that since we filed these two in personal, it shows up in personal over there. And here is that document that we first opened up with. So we could go into here and file this, maybe in, that's a business document, I think. So we'll file that in there. And then if we go over here and select business, not that, business, and press the overview key on the keyboard, it shows up in a list there. Okay, so that, good, we figured that out. That's awesome. The last thing under unfiled icons is this courier program, which looks like we get an error. Some packages need to be installed. So I wonder if this is an external or like a third-party program. This is a web browser. Oh my gosh, look at that. Alright, well, I did have a look through my small bin of PCMCIA cards, and unfortunately, I don't have anything that is compatible with the eMate here. Though, there are Ethernet cards that are compatible with it. I found a list of ones online, and I am going to try to track one of those down to see if I could do maybe a follow-up video, because I would like to explore browsing the web on this thing. at some point. This video is more of just the initial overview and taking a look at the software and what we have installed in this particular unit. But it's neat to see that there was a web browser on this, so evidently at some point this thing did connect to the web. And I was doing some off-camera browsing throughout this program. So this right here, when you click on that button, brings up the address bar essentially. So when you type in a URL, it does bring up the communications setting panel where it asks you to choose a PCMCIA card to connect to the internet. Of course, we can't do that right now. And right here brings up the search box, and you could choose your search engine here. There's a number of them in here. And then, of course, you have navigation controls and all that stuff down here. But yeah, so that's kind of a neat find on here. And that is everything on this unfiled icons screen. But we can go up here, and you see we have a few different categories. Looks like we have some games. Oh no, there's not any games in here. Why do you have a category called games with nothing in it? I'm guessing maybe there was something in here before. Maybe it was wiped. So yeah, we've got help. I mean, I guess we'll just go through all these categories and see if there's anything useful to us. I mean, well, there's just help in here. Yeah, this is that same, we saw this exact same thing. We opened this up through, I believe it was the writing program earlier. So that's that. And then we've got setup, and we got 4 things in here: setup, writing practice, teacher setup, and internet setup. So we'll probably come back to the internet setup in a later video, assuming I end up doing a follow-up on this, because this is, yeah, it looks like we actually have a 3Com PC card that I guess was used with this prior. So yeah, we've got that in here, and then we could add a new one if we want to, just go through generic setup, I guess. Yeah, connect using Ethernet. And yeah, so that's how you configure all of those settings. And then what is teacher setup? Let's see. Okay, there's a password. Can we change the password? Oh, this might be like a parental controls thing. Let's set the password as MJD. Oh, wait a second. No, it's asking us for the current password. Is the current password nothing, maybe? Let's just set the password as MJD. Okay, so the password was blank, so when we enter an MJD, it gets us into the teacher setup mode here. So we can change this to classroom mode, or just the full Newton system, which is what we've been in. What are classroom options? Okay, we can choose a printer, enable spell checking, and have multiple users per machine. That's nice. Okay, we're going to change this into... okay, looks like you can set applications here, too. Yeah, select recommended apps. So we're going to go through this other stuff, and then we'll come back in here and enable that classroom mode, because I am curious to see how that differs from just the regular full Newton system mode here. So writing practice. All right, well, not surprisingly, this looks like it's designed to get you used to using the handwriting recognition stuff, so you can practice with that. And then we have setup, which says, welcome, please take a few minutes to go through this tour. You'll have an opportunity to set up your eMate and back up your settings for use on other eMates. So this might be the thing that it goes through when you power this on for the first time. Yeah, because it's going to have you do the calibration again, so we'll go and do that. And then it asks us for our name. Okay, so let's put the stylus up here, and we'll just type in Michael MJD. Continue. Select your country, USA, and it actually has the former owner's address in here. Let's see if we can just get rid of all that and just leave it blank. Congratulations, Michael, you've successfully set up your eMate. So yeah, we can go back and change those settings if we want to. And then yeah, let's set up the eMate for classroom use. So let's do teacher setup. And we enter in the password. And then let's change this to classroom mode. Alright, so we get a much more simplified home screen here with just a handful of applications, and I believe you can, if we go back into teacher setup and enter the password, and we can go to classroom options, edit extras, and then yeah, we can add, if we want notes, we can check that, and yeah, you see it added notes right there, so we can close out of it, and let's just switch it back over to full Newton system. So yeah, that's definitely, I mean, if you were using this in a classroom and you had a fleet of these, it would make sense to have it set up that way in that mode. And then yeah, we also have storage, which is this just gonna if we go into notes here, will this give us just all of our notes? Oh, it's just going to tell us how many notes that we have and how much space are taken up on the internal storage and, where it's stored. So that's nice. So we could go into like names here, which is again, like our contacts. So we have 9 of those. Size is 2K on the internal storage. Okay, so that's useful. And then I think there was, if we go to all icons, because I went to this before and there were all these other things in here. Yeah, like Newton Internet Image Decoder. I think these are like driver packages or something. Let's see if we can open one of these up. This icon is currently active. To make it inactive and suspend all Newton Internet enabler activity, tap the suspend button. So yeah, I think these are more like packages and drivers. Like we've got Newton devices up here. Version 1.0. Okay, cool. Paper stationery. Tapping this does nothing. Okay, well technically it does something. It brings this up, so it's kind of wrong there. Image stationary. Tapping this does nothing. So yeah, not anything we can actually, view or do anything with. Yeah, I mean that looks to be everything that is installed on this Newton eMate, and well, that is the Newton eMate. A really cool little device. Definitely something that I've been wanting, like I said, to make a video on for a while. And yeah, definitely be sure to let me know if you guys would like to see a follow-up video on this, of me trying to get this thing on the internet, maybe getting some more third-party software to run on it, like maybe there's a newer web browser for this thing, or some games we could run on this. That would be super cool. But yeah, that's pretty much going to wrap up this episode. I hope you all enjoyed this one. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, get subscribed, maybe consider becoming a patron or a channel member to get early access to these videos before anybody else. But either way, I just want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.